Hey guys, Phil with Vigor Training. Coming at you today, we're going to be talking about something I call the 80-20 rule. So the 80-20 rule, what is it? How do we apply it? I looked at this over the years of training. One concept and a phrase continued to swirl around with everybody I trained. And it didn't matter if they were new shooters, experienced shooters, law enforcement, military, all the way from bottom to top. From the most basic to the most advanced snake-eating, death-dealing ninjas. There was a common thread that always came up, and that common thread is this: we don't have enough time to train. And it makes sense. We've got busy lives, whether it is firearms training, combatives training, anything we're doing inside the cycle of personal protection and safety, we never feel like we have enough time to train. It is my full-time job to be a trainer. I'm on the range 200 plus days a year, and I don't feel like I have enough time to train. So guys that are full-time, whether it's law enforcement, full-time SWAT TAC teams, military, up through special operations forces, no one ever feels like they have enough time to train. The more complex your job is, the more things you have to be good at. So individual skill sets like shooting a handgun, running a rifle, those things you have to maintain a high level, but you never feel like you get quite enough time. So if we feel like we're at a deficit of time, one of the keys then becomes being efficient with what time we do have to training. Being smart about our time also helps us maximize our dollars that we spend in training. So a couple years back I came up with something I call the 80-20 rule. And the 80-20 rule is this: I want to take 80% of my valuable, my precious training time, 80% of that time, and I want to apply that to the core fundamentals in whatever it is I'm training. The most important part, the parts of that skill set that all of the information tells me are the relevant things I'm going to need to know how to do. Not all the fancy things I need to know how to do, but the real core skills I have to do well to be successful in that particular training venue or that particular training cycle. The remaining 20% of my time, I want to go ahead and apply that to everything else. Okay, so 80% of my time is focused on those core skills. 20% is on everything else, all the things I need to know how to do. Okay, I'm going to do another video. I'm going to go into it a little bit more detail, but just to give you an example, for defensive handgun use, I set my 3 cores as follows. First, I need to get the gun inside the fight. I need to bring it into the fight, draws and presentations. Secondly, I need to keep the gun on target, shot to shot, which is a product of my fundamentals and being able to deliver multiple hits. And third, I'm going to incorporate realistic movement strategies while using that handgun in a defensive setting. Okay, those are my 3 core principles for defensive handgun use. That is my 80% chunk. 80% of the drills I do, I want to address and to enhance and sustain my skill level in those 3 key areas. Okay, notice I didn't say performing emergency reloads. I didn't say malfunction clearance, running a gun one-handed, different types of draws, combative opposed draws, deceptive draws. I didn't say using cover, none of those other things. That doesn't say I don't train those topics, but I don't apply a ton of time to them. I don't come out to a range training session knowing that my time is precious and limited and burn an entire hour working support hand manipulation and compromised ability type drills. I pick those up as I go. 80% of my drills focus on getting the gun in the fight, keeping it on target, incorporating realistic movement. Now, how do I add those 20% skills in? Well, I may set my drills, say I'm working on presentation from ready or from law enforcement from a suspect hold position. I'm working that presentation. Every time I press a trigger, I've hit one fundamental. Every single time I press a trigger more than once, I've hit fundamentals 1 and 2, and every time I incorporate some form of movement, vertical, short movement, long movement, burst movement, whatever it is, okay, I now have all 3. If I throw a dummy round into, one dummy round in a stack of 5 magazines, will get me some repetition on clearing a malfunction. In those 5 magazines, I'm going to do 5 emergency reloads. I may do 50 draw-in presentations in that same amount of time, but I may only do 5 emergency reloads. It's keeping kind of in line. There is actually a 10% instead of 20. That's keeping in line with the 80-20. So the concept is take my time, focus on what's important, get good at what is relevant. It's far too easy to get trapped by what's unique and new, but that's not what's really going to build you as a shooter in anything that you're working on, whether it's competitive shooting, whether it's defensive and self-defense minded shooting. You won't get better if you're not good at the fundamentals. You know, it's an old cliche, there is no advanced, only fundamentals, faster and more accurate. And it's really kind of true, but we get bored with them. Working from presentation, working from the draw, firing cycle drills where we're working on controlling that gun through recoil, particularly while tracking a target that may be moving or we're moving or both, is something that it gets boring. We don't want to just continue to do that, but that's the kind of thing we need to train efficiently, train smart, go to the range with a plan. I'll sometimes write it out exactly 80-20. These are the core skills, 80%. Here's maybe the 20% skills I want to incorporate, but only a small portion of my training day, not my entire time. I don't let it take away from building my core fundamental skills. So that is the 80-20 rule. You can apply that to everything you do. You can apply that to handgun, rifle, if you're running a shotgun, your combatives training, edged weapon training, anything you can do, you can apply the 80-20 rule. Focus on what's important. Focus on what's realistic. Get damn good at that. And inside of that training cycle, you're going to pick up everything else. So if you like this video, we're going to have more to follow. I'm going to give you guys a full debrief, full breakdown video on my core fundamentals for defensive handgun use, for rifle use. Stay tuned to our YouTube channel. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Drop me a comment. Let me know what you think is going on. You can follow me on Instagram and Facebook at Vigor Training. And until next time, we'll catch you later.